Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and game between Root, Drewbie, and me here on, I believe it's Korhal Compound. This is one of the new maps in Heart of the Swarm, and the first thing you will notice is that each base has its own high ground natural expansion. So each base has its own high ground natural expansion. It is further from the ramp if you are wondering which direction to scout, or you always know it's the one to the most clockwise position. So it's this base here, and then this base here. Now, couple things to note about this game. First of all, it is Heart of the Swarm beta. That means it is a beta. Things are still not balanced, and a lot of players are just trying to test out different builds. So we'll see what will be happening here. Now, in a map like this, players will pretty much be begging to try to go for some sort of fast expansion. Now, you as a Terran player, you can try to go for a 16 command center or 15 command center when you're going up against a Zerg player, but you really want to play it a little bit more safe when going up against a Terran. So in this instance, I will be going for a one Rax expand. And then Drewbie will also be going for a 1 Rax expand. You can notice that none of us are establishing our gas at the 13-minute mark, which means that we will normally be going for that quick, fast expansion. Now, I am scouting out clockwise. I will benefit from the fact that I find my opponent faster than Drewbie does, and by the fact that I can see what he is going for, he doesn't have gas, I can pretty much suspect that it is a 1 Rax expand, and I am safe to do my own. Now, currently in the beta, it is all about the Warhound. Warhound has been a great unit. Pretty much everyone says mass up Warhound and then attack and you win. And this has been, and I've also actually experienced a lot of this, so I'm just going to try and do a different build which I thought would naturally counter Warhounds. You can see the SCV is pulling away. I'm not quite sure why I go to the Zelnaga Tower, but I did want to pull away and then perhaps try to come back in when the command center is being established. You can take a look at our command centers. We are about neck and neck in terms of timing. My orbital command is a bit delayed compared to Drewbie's though, so Drewbie now going into that double gas. So that double gas right after that command center, both of them being established around that 18 mark. Me, on the other hand, I'm going to be trying to go for some additional barracks as I have not scouted this out just quite yet. I need to take a look and figure out what's going on. All right. SCV was able to slip inside, take a look around. I pretty much figured that the Marine maybe is still back in that back over there. So I'm going to take a look and try and see if both of the gases have been taken. I'm going to go around the corner here and then come back out and be able to sneak out. At the same time, though, the Marine unable to catch up to this particular SCV, so a little bit of a misplay there by me. And if I actually move around this one particular Marine, actually allowing that SCV to escape, so both of us a little bit of a fail there. Scouting SCV is able to return home as this one Marine looks for this SCV that was still hiding. All right, I am going into double barracks now being added, and this was all spotted by Drewbie. Meanwhile, Drewbie now opting to go for a factory here and also adding on a tech lab. Let's take a look at the harvester count. Harvester count is at 22 to 21. Things are pretty even, neck and neck on both sides, as I am adding on that tech lab here and still running off of 2 gas. I didn't need to get my gas nearly as early just because I wasn't going for the mass Warhound strategy. So I knew that my production buildings were not going to be nearly as much trouble as Drewbie now goes into a triple factory build off of 2 bases. Now, Marauders are supposed to be the natural counter to Warhounds. The reason behind that is that Warhounds, with those additional rocket attacks, are able to really deal a lot of damage to mechanical units. That's why you don't really want to utilize siege tanks. Marauders also deal bonus damage to a Warhound since it is an armored unit, and then the medevacs are not targetable by those missile rockets, making them pretty much well protected. I am going to be double training up Marauders and training up Marines. Going to be trying to get that level 1 weapons upgrade and then hiding my other tech for a factory and a starport off here. Meanwhile, Drewbie establishing up his own gas over here as well. Both sides pretty even and pretty neck and neck, and still both sides training up more and more SCVs. As you see, 3 Warhounds being trained at a time. One scouting Hellion making its way out. The battle Hellion is very, very useful in switching into ground mode, having much more armor, or sorry, much more hit points, and able to deal melee damage, but in a wider area. You can see that this one particular Hellion just sitting down here on the ramp, 3 Warhounds being trained at a time. They do take 45 seconds to build each. So 3 factories of training them at the same time, and as long as you're building supply depots with one SCV, one after the other, you don't really have to worry much. 30 damage per volley on each of those rockets there. Warhounds, 23 damage with a 1.7 second attack speed. That means that their DPS is slightly slower than a Marauder when fighting, as if a Marauder is going up against it. But then the Marauder can utilize stim. One important thing to note though, Marauders only have 125 hit points. Meanwhile, Warhounds have 220, almost 50%, almost 100% more. I believe it's like 80% more. And they're both 2 supply units. So that does go to show you how effective Warhounds can be. More and more Warhounds still being added here. I do that scanner sweep, quickly gain sight and realize that he is going for mass Warhounds. And I am very confident in my strategy now, as I am going into 1-0 upgrades and soon to be 1-1 upgrades with my Marines and Marauders. You can see Drewbie now looking to establish up his 3rd base here. Fortunately for him, I did spawn clockwise from him, so I can take this expansion even though there are destructible rocks in position. Meanwhile, Drewbie has this command center here. Now, I'm not quite sure what happens if you attack collapsible rock towers and there's a building in the way, so I guess that would be a good experiment to have sometime soon, as we are going to see a Marine now sneak down over here. Taking a look at the bases so far, I am still trying to crank out as many units as possible. Army compositions are pretty even. Drewbie does have slightly more gas and more minerals right now. Meanwhile, I just have a larger overall supply count, 98 over 86, and we are about neck and neck in terms of workers. Now, beautiful positioning by Drewbie to set up a sensor tower here, and this sensor tower actually deterred me from trying to do a drop, even though Drewbie already has missile turrets here. So if he didn't have this one sensor tower, I may have actually dropped him instead, and that wouldn't have turned out nearly as well. Hellion gonna get easily taken down. And now I think I actually going in the wrong direction here. Yeah, going in the wrong direction. This is a weird island expansion. I'm now going to be trying to make my way over here to the north. You see the Warhound. One thing you got to be careful. Warhound is significantly faster than your siege tanks. So if you move these out with the same control group, then all of these units will end up, your Warhounds will end up much, much further ahead than your siege tanks. As we now see an engagement here, Marauders and Marines fighting and battling it out. Siege tanks are in the back. Warhounds are unable to stack up on each other. And I am simply destroying all of these Warhounds here. Now trying to get within 0 range, make sure that the siege tanks can't do all too much against me. And I was able to come out ahead in that particular battle. Still have 4 medevacs, Marauders and Marines coming up the ramp. Gonna go ahead and take down one Warhound, take down another, and that is gonna be the GG from Drewbie. So yes, I was actually able to take a game off of Root Gaming's Drewbie. Once again, thanks to Drewbie. I asked him if I could cast this replay, and I know that he wasn't playing seriously. He's just trying to test out new builds, and all I did was essentially a Wings of Liberty build. And I'm sure that Drewbie would have executed that build and microed that build much better than me. So, able to catch Drewbie's units as they were in transit, in transition. My Marines and Marauders with stim, able to move closer together and start dealing damage faster. Also, one thing to note that you have to be very careful with Warhounds. The radius of a Warhound is so large that Terran players who just try to A-move with Warhounds may find later on that the DPS isn't as high as, say, a Marine Marauder Ball. They do have more survivability, though, since they do have 220 hit points. But in those small engagements where drops matter or things like that, where you are in confined, tight spaces, it really still feels like bio is the way to go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this game here from Heart of the Swarm Beta. Hopefully I'll be able to give more games to you as well.